if someone who's coming in hears that, oh, Oscar shot the video for 20 naira, it's going to be like, okay, to beat Oscar, let me just take 10 naira today. And someone else is going to hear that and going to take 5 naira. And then at some point, they're going to be saying, oh, like, your guy will do it for free. If you don't want to do it, you can leave it. And that's where the industry is going. So you have to actually set your standard and stick with it. It might be painful. You might not get jobs like you used to. You might get a lot of failed inquiries that do not convert. But in the long run, when you look back at your work and your portfolio that you've done, you would be proud of what you're putting out.
That is Oscar Elochim. He's a video producer with over 10 years work experience, and I sat with him to discuss at length the things that made up his 10 years plus video production and filmmaking career. We also talked about establishing foolproof client or customer experiences as a professional, understanding your value, as well as expressing your creative freedom as a creative or as a creative professional. This is one of the best professional conversations I've had in a while, and I highly recommend it for you. Now, you may notice some changes or slight changes in the audio quality, and that's because this particular episode was recorded off the studio. And aside that, every other thing is great, and I really hope that you enjoy this episode. You're listening to The Simple Creative, a podcast for those bold enough to start up something from nothing. My name is Oladimeji Ajegbele. I'm a designer, podcaster, and a creative who is constantly pursuing and exploring what it means to live a simple yet meaningful life. On this podcast, I sit with creative persons who have been able to do this particular thing of starting up something from nothing. They tell us their stories, they take us through their process, and basically help others to make impact by starting up something from nothing. If you want more details, visit lodimeji.com/podcast. Again, it is lodimeji.com/podcast. Okay, so thank you so much for agreeing to do this and for coming on the podcast. Have you recorded any podcast before?
Not at all. I've not really been putting myself out there, though I know I should do. But yeah, this is one of the first opportunities, and yeah, it's an honor to be on your podcast. Thank you.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for honoring the invite. So that the audience can get to know who you are, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Oscar Elochim. I'm a self-taught video producer. I learned everything I know, every single thing I know was learned on the internet and by doing and learning. So I'm a video producer. I create videos.
So you would prioritize practicing over, learning?
It works different ways for different people. Some people learn better when they're led on. I kind of have a problem with authority. I don't like authority, so I tend to go off on my own and do things. Okay. And then discover that, oh, I actually like this and this works. I learn better by doing by myself.
Yeah, there's this 99% 1% ratio of inspiration and perspiration, where, the inspiration comes like quickly, or you learn from something, and then the remaining part of the entire work kind of goes into you doing the work, putting in the sweat and everything. True. And this is one concept that is very strange in our current, creative industry. Everybody wants to achieve something without doing the work. And I'm sure you've noticed, or you've probably seen a lot of creatives, probably in the video, in the filmmaking aspect, trying to, find easy way out, watch tutorials, try to steal people's ideas and put it together. So, do you constantly struggle with, seeing people like this wanting to just have these things figured out without even doing the work at all?
At first, I would say, with the accessibility of the cost of entry or the barrier of entry into filmmaking was pretty high back when I started, but right now it's very easy. Like, you could literally make a good film with your phone. And at first I used to be annoyed, oh, why would I be dragging for jobs with people who just have their phones and have no idea, they don't even know what frame rates they're shooting in. And after a while I thought, the clients actually know who they're looking for, so I don't bother with that. I think it's a good thing, because even with the rise of TikTok recently, you could see that it's made a lot of people more interested in filmmaking and how editing works, because TikTok is basically an editing app, if you ask me. And it made a lot of people more interested in learning how proper editing works, because they saw what they could do with that little app. And then, so I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing that it's actually people are actually just, I think, just do what you have to do really, because it's different strokes for different people. You can't expect to learn the way I did, and I don't
Get the
expect
same.
everyone to
Yeah.
have the same resources I had when I was starting out, because the only reason why I was able to learn on my own is because I had access to everything I needed. So it was just for me to start doing. But some people don't have anything, so they might need to actually go and learn from someone who has a clue what they're doing.
Wow. All right. So how long have you been into filmmaking?
Let's just say give or take 10 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
it is.
Like 10 years ago, anything digital wasn't really, big in Nigeria. It was just like, at the very baby steps. And now looking 10 years down, with the click of a button on the phone, you can get some really good footage or, videos on your phone.
Yeah.
But then it still doesn't take away, like there's still that precious appeal when you see something really good and high quality, because you can't trade the kind of footage you get from a red camera with an iPhone. There is total difference. So like, is there like a constant struggle with getting clients that, really value the things you do? Because clients are very weird people. They see something online, they're like, that's what I want, to produce exactly the same thing, and they won't really want you to do what you want to do. So
Yeah, it's a struggle. It's a struggle getting clients to see the value proposition most times. But what I found out is that when I get clients, they tend to like as part of my customer experience, my client experience is I educate them. So you're not just calling me as a video guy to come and create a video and give you a video. I educate you into what goes into making a video. So you're not left clueless and asking me, oh, I want my video by this night because you saw one guy do it. And so I think most times when I work with clients, they tend to not want to work with those other people who just like, they don't know the difference, but when they see a full experience,
Okay.
they tend to stick around.
because I think it's very important with educating people you work with. That's one thing we don't really take care of in this part of the world. Like, someone doesn't know something, they don't understand the value. It's your job as a professional to make them realize that, see, you're not just paying for this, you are paying for this and that. Because if you do like, let's say you do a regular let's say wedding video, for example, there's a lot that goes into that, location and so many other things, but
Wow.
they don't really see that. All they see is, I want my wedding day to be fabulous and amazing.
Like this person's video.
Exactly. Like they saw something on Instagram and, Bella Ninja, and they just feel, let's just reproduce that. So, is there like a particular sort of process you follow when dealing with clients?
When dealing with clients, depending on the type of work, most of my work now comes from, I would say, corporate clients. So at the beginning of my career, I used to work with music, with a lot of entertainment related and music professionals, which are musicians. And a problem I saw there was that there was no creative freedom. So artist A, one A-list artist drops a video today, and tomorrow somebody comes to you with that same concept, and they're like, oh, I want to give you 80,000 to shoot this. And you understand, the video probably cost upwards of 4 million naira to shoot, and they want, so there was no creative control. And apart from the creative control, like, it was not just doable, it was hurting my brand. Even though I still love the entertainment side of things, I love music videos, but it was hurting my brand, and I didn't want to be known as that guy that was always helping artists out with low budget videos. So most of my stuff now have come from the corporate clients and companies, and they tend to be more understanding in terms of the process, and they tend to appreciate quality.
Okay. Like, but is there like a certain level of quality you prefer to put into your work, depending on? Okay, so like there are a couple of persons that they kind of compromise on what they do based on the kind of client that comes. For example, a client comes with very low budget, or is not really enthusiastic about the entire project, so they decide to just, well, since you don't even understand what your project is, let's just sabotage everything.
I used to be like that. I didn't plan to sabotage people's work, but I used to be like, oh, anything that comes, I'll take it, because I'm trying to survive. But then I realized that when you do that, it's actually not just hurting your brand, but it's actually hurting the whole industry. And then people who are trying to come in, they literally have nothing to feed on, because if anybody that comes to me and tells me, okay, my budget is 20 naira, and I'm like, oh, okay, because this is your budget, I'm going to do it. I don't have a set standard. That price is always going to drop, because if someone who's coming in hears that, oh, Oscar shot the video for 20 naira, it's going to be like, okay, to beat Oscar, let me just take 10 naira today. And someone else is going to hear that and going to take 5 naira. And then at some point, they're going to be saying, oh, like, your guy will do it for free. If you don't want to do it, you can leave it. And that's where the industry is going. So you have to actually set your standard and stick with it. It might be painful. You might not get jobs like you used to. You might get a lot of failed inquiries that do not convert. But in the long run, when you look back at your work and your portfolio that you've done, you would be proud of what you're putting out.
Oh, that's interesting. So I didn't really get comfortable with video when I first started, because you know how it is now for you to just sit down in front of a camera and start doing
I'm still
things.
struggling with that. I'm still struggling with that.
So, but like, was that like I don't know, was it like a personal thing, or you had an experience that kind of triggered some of these things?
That's for me to start making videos of myself.
Yeah.
I always knew I wanted to make videos of myself. Always knew. Like, I've been on my YouTube account was probably created 2009 or 2010, and it's just been random stuff. I always knew I wanted, but I didn't know the direction, and I just thought, okay, I have to think of a way to actually educate people in a simplified form that doesn't make it stressful for me, because now, when I'm trying to create my videos, if I apply the same level of production quality which I do to my clients or to most of my works out there, it would take like at least a month to release one video, and it's not sustainable in this. Like, you have to ship out content. I know that. So I'm still finding the middle ground within quality and execution. So within getting that video out to people right away and still maintaining a certain level of standard for it to be okay, that's an Oscar video. Yeah, so that's what. But it was quite weird at first, but it's something I know that needs to be done, so I'm still working very hard on that.
You know, I realize that people barely notice some things, except, you know, the people that have eyes for it. Like, you might be watching a YouTube video, you know this thing is of very good quality, but then a very, you know, random regular person just opens the phone and probably clicks, you know, 114, you know, pixels to view a resolution, to view the entire, you know, 4K footage you put on YouTube. So, like, what does that make you feel when you put in so much work and then people don't even, you know, like, see it as...
I used to be worried about all those, but I'm no longer worried, because the reason why I still put my videos out in 4K or 1080p is because I'm future proofing it, because as we know that YouTube is the second largest search engine. So in the future, the kind of topics which I'm trying to create on my YouTube and with my content is something that I would want people to search years down the line when things start popping off, and they can relate to it, even if it's just from the aspect of this guy being a Nigerian like me, because there are a lot of people who do what we do, like, who are trying to educate and spread their knowledge of filmmaking, even from an indie or professional level. But I would want them to still connect with me from that Nigeria. If that's only the only thing they're connecting with me from, they can connect with me on that and still get that quality which they expect from the other YouTubers.
Yeah. So we'll just go into like a couple of quick questions.
Okay.
Because so I took to Instagram to like do this Q&A and for people to ask you questions. So I'm going through a couple of questions quickly.
Okay.
No pressure. Just answer whichever way it comes to your mind. Okay. So the very first question here says that it's from Olaoluwa, and it says, when did you start producing videos, and what equipments did you start with?
Okay, I started making videos. When I say video making, I wasn't shooting. I was making videos. So I was making videos from other people's videos because I just loved editing. So here's the story. I've actually been into this media field all my life. My dad had probably the first digital studio in Nigeria
Oh,
before he passed on. So I was always in that setting. I saw artists come through, and then when I was in my own in school, I was not in Nigeria then. When I started, I was outside in some country, and then I saw a video that fascinated me. It was just a birthday video that was edited by a friend of mine who's not even into video, and I'm like, oh wow, how did you do this? And it's like, I edited it. I'm like, I've never edited a video before, and I was like, I can do better than this. And that was it. I went and I downloaded After Effects. Funny enough, I was using After Effects to edit, which we know
oh
After
my
Effects.
God.
So
That's
it
what
was.
it's meant for.
I started with Sufferhead editing because I was doing things the hard way. Then I discovered Premiere, and then it just kept going. So I started with editing videos. I did not have a camera. I was downloading videos of anywhere, YouTube, anywhere I could find a video. Even if it didn't make sense, I'll just download it, put it together, put a nice music track. I was learning with that, doing tutorials. I did not have a camera when I started out.
You know, it's something. You see, I actually paused. I was trying to process what I just listened to. You know, many people feel you need to have all these big things. Like someone is looking at you today and is like, "Oh, Oscar has all this gear and everything," and the person won't realize that there's been 10 years in the process. Like all the gears, all the equipment you've acquired over the years. One person wants to start now and have everything
And
now,
have everything.
and that's what's killing us as creatives. Like,
They want to jump
yeah,
the process.
I've legit had people come to my DMs and say, "Wow, your workspace is really great. What, like, how much did you use to set up everything?" And I'm like, this entire thing you're seeing right now is an accumulation of 2 years. And the person is like, no, don't worry, just tell me the entire. So you can't really put that kind of value on things that happen over time. And looking at how far you've come till now, what would you say has been the major differences between, you know, 2010, 2011, 2012 and now?
The major difference between 2010 and now is the barrier of entry. Cost of entry is very easy to actually make a start, get started. You can get started with anything now. It's not back then. Back then, if you just mention video, people expect to see a crew. Like, okay, in recent years, the vlogging, we've always had vlogging, but in recent years, you see the growth of vlogging. Like everybody now, you can just pick up a camera and say your thoughts to the camera, add a nice music, and you have a vlog. So the barrier of entry is much, much lower. Even anybody can do it. Be
You
a
have a
celebrity.
smartphone.
So if I was, let's say I was a celebrity in 2010 and I wanted to make a video out there based on my level or standing in the industry, you think, okay, I need this to be super professional. But now people want to see candid. So it all depends. The barrier of entry is much lower and people are willing to overlook that. In fact, on some platforms, I think people actually prefer the organic look more than the professional polished look. So when you're making, like what I noticed when I did a little survey on Instagram is that, like, you notice with these comedians,
Yeah.
I talked to a few of them because some of them live around here, and what they told me is that they don't like shooting with cameras because their audience can tell when they try too much. So they try to make it as normal as they make the video look unedited and look rough. It's actually an intentional move
Okay.
just because that's what the audience tend to connect with. So it's crazy. Just different strokes for different folks.
Like you just wonder why, you know, people now appreciate more of the crude kind of feeling to
Yeah.
polished.
Yeah, people actually want to see your shortcomings.
Yeah.
They don't want to, you don't come acting all perfect. If you come acting all perfect, they would find your shortcomings for you. But if you just let them, okay, I don't have a good camera, I'm just doing this, and they would actually support you wholeheartedly if they find that they connect with what you're doing. But when you try to polish it more than it should be or more than you have the ability to, they would actually point it out that, okay, see where you're getting it wrong, and that's what I've noticed.
So I think the idea to this is just to be yourself and be authentic.
Come as you are.
Yeah.
Come as you are.
Because I can't come out now and start saying I have all this gear, because like 80% of my entire podcast episodes, apart from this new set I'm starting now, has been shot on my phones.
Mm-hmm.
And every time people say it, they're like, no, it's not possible. So there was a day I decided to just do a dedicated Instagram live, And I'm like, so I want to show you guys what I used to film, but I can't show you because that's what is filming me right now. That was when they started to really get that exactly whatever it is you have is enough to start. It's not like you end up being the same. You would always grow, but start with what you have.
Like,
So the second question is from Elvis Uzo, and he says that how does one go into film and editing without necessary equipment?
without necessary equipment, I believe that he has the necessary equipment. If this was 10 years ago, I would say, okay, get a laptop or something. But if you're asking me this question in 2020, you have the necessary equipment, your phone.
Everything,
Your
like
phone.
I've seen a lot of people do amazing things with just a smartphone. Just this time last year, I had Salem King on my podcast, and then we got talking of how he built up a community of over 10,000 on Instagram, and all from just an iPhone 7 and a borrowed ring light, and was able to create that kind of, content. And every time, you see people shouting, oh, I need the new iPhone, I need this, I need that. Eventually, when they get it, they never do anything because when you add the very small things, you didn't do anything with it. So what happens when the big ones come? It's like deceiving yourself that, okay, until, the very day I will get all these things figured out. If you can't start with the little things you have, what is the assurance that even when the big ones come, you'll do anything? So now the next question here says that what are the necessary things to know as a film and video editor?
The necessary things, you need to understand story.
Okay.
You need to understand how to tell a story because video editing is basically storytelling. So you need to know story structure. Is it interfering? Or we're good?
Yeah, you can just move it.
Okay. So for you need to know story structure. You need to know how to tell a story because what video editing, even if you get given a folder of footage and it's shot like in a specific order, you need to be able to know how to pace and tell a story in a way that will still keep the person watching glued to their screen, or keep them know when to introduce suspense, know when to take the pace down and make it sad. You need to know how to tell a story before you edit.
Well, that's very important. I took a course, like I taught a course on the art of audio storytelling, and it's basically the same thing. Everything you do, no matter what kind of story it is, that has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end.
Yes.
And at the beginning, that's where you consider the structure, the plot, and all those extra things. So, yeah, I think that's very important. Understand what storytelling is first before deciding to want to get into filming, because you can't just jump on the camera and start moving things around without having a purpose or understanding what am I trying to communicate with the people who watch or listen to this. So I think it kind of relates to the next question, and this one says that he's been working in a TV station for some time now, but then he wants to go into advertising and commercials. That how should he go about it?
I'm not speaking authoritatively but I would suggest if you wanted to make a switch between niches, because that's a niche. If you wanted to make a switch, find someone who's already doing what you want to do and team up with them, offer them your service as an editor, or find a producer, a commercial producer, and offer to work for free once or twice and show them what you can. You have to actually provide some value up front and be really ready to not get paid, or to ready to be paid less than what you would normally earn, in order to gain a grandstand, like to get known for, okay, I can do this. I think that's one of the few ways you have to work for free.
Because I think a lot of people fear that part of working for free. Like, it's my career, I have to, really get it going. And many people don't realize that sometimes all those months, all those periods where you've done, all these sort of pro bono jobs, it kind of builds up that skill in you, because now you can really dedicate more time. You learn things over time, and nobody can take away that experience from you. Yes, you didn't get paid, but then the experience sticks with you. Like, you can even use those free jobs to, land a bigger deal, because now people can say, oh wow, you did this amazing commercial for free, and that kind of gets you everything. So I think I get that, and that's where most creatives feel, if you can't pay me, then please go away.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I don't post recently. I've not been posting as I used to last year. But what I find is that people, when I make a post, I'll just make one post and I get DMs and someone's like, oh, I want to come work with you, I want to come and do this, but they don't act okay. I'm like, because I hate being indebted to anyone, regardless of, I know that people should work for free, but I don't expect anyone to work for free for me. In fact, if I want anyone to work with me, you have to be better than me. So because I need to learn from your knowledge. And yeah, so how much are you expecting to get paid? Oh, I want to come learn from you, I want to come understudy you. So the first question I ask most people is, where do you stay? Do you stay close? If you're in Lagos, cool. How much do you expect to earn? And then you see people saying 200,000, 150,000, and I'm just like, okay, I can't afford to pay you now. And some of them see that as like you just trying to, they expect that. I'm like, I really can't afford to pay you, because one, you told me you wanted to come learn from me. You've not shown me any value up front. So I'm going to be spending my time and energy trying to put you up to speed, and then I will still have to cough out this amount. I don't explain this much, but I leave that for them to figure out.
Yeah.
But you can't be wanting to learn or trying to get into something. It's just like, I've always wanted to get into the wedding. I wanted a part of my business to be focused on wedding. I've not been a wedding person right from when I started.
Okay.
Even with my years of experience, I realized that I would have to work with someone who has been doing this for years in order to actually know how things go, and then slowly network with people in that niche. That's the event planners, couples, know where they meet their clients. And yeah, it's not just something, oh, because I have cameras, I've been doing videos, I'm going to jump in. Nobody's going to give me a job. They don't care what you have. So you have to actually provide that value. Like, sometimes I can let someone who shoots videos, I say, okay, use my camera and I'll just help you. I'll come and understudy you, and I'll just assist you. That's me providing value to the person. Camera that you would rent normally, take it for free. And that person, it makes the person more open to actually, okay, let me show this person, because you've provided value. I think that you have to provide value before you request. You can't even request for value. You provide value and it gets given back to you.
There's so much with the kind of value we offer as humans. It has a ripple effect on the way people see us, because now, if you can easily, stand a ground of helping someone with something you can do, and you can do it really well. Now, if the person doesn't have the, necessary, resources to pay you, they would always find a way around it. Like, I've been in cases where I did jobs for someone, and it's a music studio, and then the person didn't have the cash to pay. And then, he kept saying that, I know this job is expensive, I know it's of great value, but I don't want you to just go like that. So I said, I'm actually fine. I'm okay doing this for free, because I'm learning. I was in the studio for more than 3 weeks doing the job with this guy, and I was seeing how people come in, and the kind of things you're producing. I kind of learned a little bit of production then.
Okay.
And I was comfortable with that. But then he didn't let me go. He said, okay, I have a couple of equipment. Which one do you think you would prefer? And I didn't start my podcast then, so I didn't even know I was going to start a podcast. And then I picked the microphone, a shotgun mic, and then was like, okay, that's fine. And that was what started my podcast. And I never knew that could happen. I didn't even have an idea that I'll be starting a podcast soon. So sometimes value is not only about the money, or, payment shouldn't always be about the money. Yes, that's one of the major focuses, because come on, you have to, pay bills and stuff. Definitely. But then there are some other ones that kind of go a long way, because now you can attribute a lot of feelings, a lot of quality moments from that simple thing you got. If I didn't have that camera, I'm sure I would have started my podcast. I'm very, very sure. So it really works. Now, this last question here is saying that he's been a video editor for 1 year plus with very little experience, and he wants to grow and get better. So, are there tips you have for him?
Tips on getting better, it depends. It depends what you are editing.
Okay.
It depends what you're editing, but in order to get better, it's still the very basic things. I found out when people want to level up, sometimes it's not about actually doing bigger things. Sometimes it's about going back to basics. Now you know how to edit. Some people think they know how to edit, but all they know how to do is how to use a software. So people come to me, I want to learn how to edit, and really they just want to learn how to use the software. If you know how to edit, you can work with any software. So now I edit mainly on Adobe Premiere Pro, but I can actually pick up Final Cut and I'll cut something. I can pick up DaVinci, which is very complicated, but once you have an idea of this is what editing means, so you have to, the person trying to level up, go back to the basics, like try, see, is your storytelling on point? If you edit mostly music based stuff, there's still storytelling in that, because with music videos, which a lot of people start out with in my scene, I started out in the entertainment scene, is it used to just be performance, and then you put a track on there and cut. You find the best takes and it's all that. But it's changing now because people even prefer stories. Like I try as much as possible, no matter the budget I'm shooting on, whether it's low budget, no budget, I try to incorporate the story because I want people to watch it to the point where they see my name at the end that says directed by Oscar. If they tune out at 1 minute and they're like, oh, we've seen everything, then they don't get to know who made it. So my aim is to make you reach that last frame.
Yeah.
And that storytelling is not about, before I used to be obsessed with effects. I want to download the latest effects. It's not about that. In fact, most of those stuff actually make your work, at some point when you want to level up, they make your work look tacky and childish, like you don't know what you're doing. I'm just training on the latest trendy effects. Like you need to know, go back to the basics and make your work simple. Like just look through your work and pick out little things which you've not perfected and try to perfect it. That's the leveling up. There's no secret sauce. It's about,
like, just go back to what you started with.
just go back to where you started with and do it.
Because usually at the beginning there is this enthusiasm to do something great, and then it gets to a point that it just dies. Like, and that's
At that point, you have to go back. It's very hard telling someone to go back and start again when they feel like they already know. But it's one of the best things. So with my Instagram now, like I used to have an Instagram page. It's another story. I used to have an Instagram page called Oscar Media. So I was always focused on building my brand as Oscar Media, which is my company registered. I was pushing that for many years, and then it got hacked last year. In January. So, and probably that's how you found out about me. That was the good thing, me getting hacked. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to put this much effort. I want people to see me. So I created a new profile. I recovered the other one, but you can still see it there. I don't post anymore for now till I grow my team. I got a new account and I was like, I want people to see me. And now the fact that you're seeing a face to this, it makes me liable. I'm more responsible. It's not just about posting and running away. Like, my face is out there. So it, like, building from the ground up, from zero again back to where I am, even though I've slowed it down a bit, kind of made me understand Instagram more. Before I was just posting and I thought I knew what Instagram was, but now I've understood that it's an attention game, and really it made me understand that by putting myself out there and starting all over again from the beginning, from 0 followers, and I have a better, more engaged audience by doing that, not just people that follow for the sake of following.
You know, some of your tutorials on YouTube, there was a particular one that really helped me, you know, how to sing, audio in Premiere. Mm-hmm. I searched everywhere. I saw some, but it wasn't, you know, how someone that is using, like someone that doesn't really understand what you are going through, is telling you what to do. There's this connection that is not there. But the moment I found yours, and I'm like, okay, I think I understand exactly the way you said it, because this is exactly what I'm going through, and really helped me. And then there's this, I think, is this this drone pilot thing you did some time ago?
Okay.
Yeah, and then you were sharing a couple of tips on these things to actually do. And when you realize that a lot of people actually see these things and it helps them, and you realize that the more you start to put yourself out there, the better it gets for you, and also the people who listen to you, because now they can connect with someone who probably sees their struggles, who is like a complete replica of the exact problems they're going through.
Similar struggle.
And this is one thing we need more in Nigeria. Like, everybody's doing a lot of, copy and paste content. They just want to grow an audience without really caring. Like, you already have 4K followers and still you're looking for more when you've not really given any much value to the people that are actually there. And this is one issue I find with Instagram. So do you feel like overwhelmed with Instagram at any point, whether from seeing other people's content or you creating content? Because there is this vibe of consistency, push out content, always show up.
To be very honest, very honest, I'm overwhelmed with Instagram. Like, Instagram drains me out. To be very, very honest, like, people don't realize the amount of work that actually goes into making just one post. It's gotten that way for me now. The amount of work that goes into making one post. So now I don't even focus on Instagram anymore. So now I create content just for YouTube. And what I do is, if I feel like, I'll just put the teaser on Instagram, which is what everybody, the social media marketers, will tell you. Always drag content from. But I find out that there's some people who find me on YouTube from my Instagram, and there's some people that even if I post a teaser on the Instagram, they've zoned out and they don't really care about. So I'm calling out to a specific set of people with the kind of topics that I have curated to create on YouTube. Instagram, because Instagram is not some YouTube. I can do YouTube weekly. You can even do YouTube once a month and be successful. Once in 6 months and be successful, and create a content like engaged audience. But Instagram, if you don't feed their algorithm, you're not getting anything in return.
I think that platform is very weird. Like,
yeah, it's cutthroat. Like, it's everything. God. It's like OPay. Is it OPay?
Yeah.
It does everything. So now there's reels, there's stories, there's like, how am I going?
It's getting too much, And thinking about this, there was a time I was struggling with creating normal posts on Instagram. And then all of a sudden decided IGTV, and I'm like, come on. And IGTV hasn't even stayed 3 or 4 years. I don't even think it's up to that. Now there's reels. And the rate at which they're pushing all these things, you kind of feel this pressure to jump on the trend.
They want you to jump on the next thing, because now what the marketers will also tell you is that if you help Instagram, they will help you. So now they're trying to push reels. If you make more reels, they would expose you to much people.
Yeah.
Which is what more people are doing. But at
the expense of
quality. At the expense of what? Like, how would that impact the quality of the content which I'm trying to put out? Would I keep having to play this catch-up game with Instagram? Or I like the fact that YouTube just gives you that freedom to do what you want to do, and you will find people who like what you want regardless.
All right, so we'll be going into a session now that I kind of call trivia.
Okay.
And the way it works is, in your field, you would mention 3 reputable persons that are quite known, and then you pick one out of them, and then mention some things you like about what the person does, or maybe the process. So that's just the way. So you mention 3 persons in your field that are known, and then talk about one of them, things you like or you've learned from them.
Okay. Any 3?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll start with JJC, Mr. Abdul Bello. I don't know if you know him. He's the husband to Jennifer now.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I did some informal apprenticeship with him. He's like, most people don't know him as a video producer, but he's a video producer, which I learned a lot from. What I learned from JJC skills is, or what I love about him, is the fact that when he taught me about the fact that you can actually make creativity a business. Like, creativity, when you start out and it's all passionate, I want to do this, I want people to see it, I want people to know that it was me that did this. And he taught me that you can actually bring people in and let them do the work and gain fulfillment, and you still take that credit and everybody eats. You understand? That was one thing I learned from him. Teamwork. Like, you see JJC, so it was the first person I was like, oh, you see JJC, directed by JJC, and you don't see the amount of people that were in the background doing work, people, the lights, the editor, and that was where I learned the teamwork aspect. Another person that stands out to me in our field is Clarence. Obviously, Clarence Peters. He's a living legend, if permits me to say, a veteran. What he has done in the music video field it can't be matched. It really cannot be matched. Like, he is the industry. Like, he created the template for everyone. Most of the guys you see coming out now, most, not all, or most of the guys that you see, they come up and get a buzz and you hear about them. They came from Clarence, so they were probably his editors or his lights guy, or they were doing something for Clarence too. They felt strong enough and said, okay, I could come out on my own. Clarence also has that sense of community. He has a company, he has a strong team, a really strong team, and he puts all that, like, he packages creativity in a very, like, he made creativity, being a creative, he actually made it seem worth it, because he was the one who started commanding high rates for bringing out, like, to do videos back then. 1 million was heard as a large amount. Now 1 million is a low budget video now, seriously.
Yeah.
So he pushed that mark and he continues to push it. He continues to break the ceiling on creativity and working with others. He continues to do new things, and he's someone I'm sure everyone looks up to if you're into video. And okay, who's the third person I'm going to mention is actually not that known to some people, but is known to me, and is a young guy. His name is Olu.
Okay.
I love the way he works, his team spirit. He also gets it. He gets the fact that it's not all about you. Even though it's all working for the good of your brand, it's not all about you. You have to actually bring people along and make them feel valued. And that is only in that way that they can actually bring out their best, make them their input should be valued, and then you would actually see the best of people when they know that if they say something, it would actually be implemented on, or they could actually take notice of that. So he works very well. I like working with teams. Okay. So those are the three people.
All right. So if you would advise a starting out creative on, joining a team, like, what kind of team would you recommend?
I'd say if you join a team, it's not as easy as it sounds, but I'll say find someone or find a group of people who are close to the level which you are at.
Okay.
Yeah, because you heard of Clarence now, you want to go and start finding Clarence's number, and he's not going to respond to you. So find someone that is closer to your level, so you can start as a group of beginners. Like you see recently, the Ikorodu boys, I don't know who's...
Oh my God.
So their content might seem silly to some people, but they're a group of people and their skill set is around the same level. So if you already know editing, and you can join someone like those guys, you understand? I'm not saying specifically them, but you can also find people that are within the same skill set and then grow. And as your skill grows, you can know what to do with that. And finding a team is not easy because there are so many things. Apart from skill sets, there's interpersonal relationships that actually, if you don't work well or you don't vibe well with people, the work is always going to show in the work.
Okay.
And so my style of working, one of the main reasons why I even set up this space we're in, is I like all the work to come from one place.
Okay.
So I really don't like the fact that, okay, I'm working with someone and I have to send the work to the person and the person starts turning me around, and by the time the project comes out, the life is gone. I'm probably not attached to that project. But when it's on one system and somebody is, okay, ideas keep flying in, and within 1 week we're done. And so if you want to work with people, try to work with people within the same skill set or just a little bit close to the skill sets you're trying to achieve, or people who have the skill sets you're trying to achieve. Just try to offer something to them. The idea behind working with people who are within the same skill set is, when you offer something which you already have to them, they would see it as valuable.
Yeah.
So you cannot go and offer your 2 months editing experience to someone who has been running a production company for over 20 years. Like, you would probably pay him to work with him. That's how, you understand what I mean? So yeah. It's take the step. Like, the process is long, but that's the fun of it. So work with those people, you get better, you move on. Your work from there would attract you to the next level and the next level, and it just keeps going. You just have to keep working. Don't try to jump or skip the process, because you will get found out and then you come falling back where you started. So just take it easy. There's no rush to just be the next big thing, because you will always get found out when it comes to work.
Like, that's a very deep word. Always get found out.
Yes, no, there's a lot of, like, even with my experience, my little experience, I sometimes feel like, oh, like, am I in a position to be telling these people what to do. So most times, what even pushes me to actually, okay, let me record now, is I try when I've structured the story or the topic to be from my experience. So when I'm teaching you anything, I'm teaching you any experience, any tutorial I'm teaching you, is not because I'm the best editor. I'm just teaching you what I know. So the way I sync my audio, like the one you watched, I don't know anybody who sings like that. Different people have their ways, but those are the ways that I work, and like it's almost second nature to me now. You can wake me up and I'm just like, okay, synced. So it's just that. So you have to just keep doing you. First of all, it has to be from within. Don't try to be what you're not. Just keep it real, and people would actually appreciate what you do.
There's so much of borrowed concept around that, like everybody knows where it came from. Like anybody in that field would know that, okay, this idea or this style of work is from this person, because the person was able to put in originality and so much of authenticity into that particular thing. And if you really want to follow in that same line, the best I can say for anybody is to learn from many people as possible. Like imagine this now, that you learn from 10 different persons in your field, and then you bring up all the 10 things you've learned together, put in your own uniqueness. If everybody sees it, they'll be like, okay, that's something new. And that's the only way I believe you can come up with new ideas. There's nothing new under the sun. Like, it's very simple. But then there are like remarkable ways to combine. Like, that's the entire basis of creativity. Pick from everywhere, and then put it together, and then to create something. So we'll be running up with a couple of fun questions. They're just like rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So anyhow you see fit. So if you would, so you wake up in the morning now, what would you clean first? Your bedroom, your desk, or your car?
My desk.
Why?
Because I'll probably wake up at my desk.
That's true. You're an editor, so. All right, cool. Okay. Given the choice of 3 different meals, which one would you regularly choose every day?
Are you giving me the choice?
No, it's an open choice.
Okay,
So
I just choose one meal
yeah,
every day. Rice.
like every time.
Rice.
What type?
Let's just say white rice. But I say rice because rice can be made in so many different ways.
Okay,
So
yeah,
rice, white rice.
Okay. All right. So for you, what would constitute a perfect day?
A perfect day for me is a day where I'm able to get as much as possible done without any distractions. So that's a perfect day for me. So a perfect day is when I'm in the flow, and the flow is very hard. It's not as easy as it seems to get into the flow. Like, okay, I'm editing, or I'm trying to do some research on a topic I want to make, and then somebody calls me outside, I'm hearing the baby cry, this one, that one. A perfect day for me is when, like, I don't know if you get, you're working on a project and you're uninspired. You might be inspired, but it's not converting to how you see it, and then suddenly from nowhere you just get that, like, everything you think just starts clicking, almost like everything you were doing prior to that was actually set for this moment. That's the perfect day for me. Sometimes that flow lasts the whole day.
Wow.
Sometimes it lasts 3 hours. So it's very hard to find, but my perfect day is when I'm in the flow and when I'm just working without distraction. Because when I work like that, then you can be sure that what's coming out is going to be real good.
All right. So on a regular day, how long do you work for?
I don't have working hours. I work every time. Like, I work as long as there's light. I work. Like, I work at. They say work from home. I've always been working from home, so I'm always working. So if work comes, or if there's work on my table, as long as I'm not doing anything which is essential in the house, I'm in here trying to get that. I'm always constantly trying to get my desk clear. And by my desk clear, I mean getting all outside jobs done, and then I face my YouTube and personal tasks.
All right. Okay, so this is one of the major questions that kind of features on the podcast.
Okay.
And it's for, to make other creatives know, the struggles that we go through, because people see the glory on the outside, but they don't know the work that actually goes on the inside. Like they can't really define exactly what is happening. So people just guess about all these things, and to some great extent, there's so much of doubt with people who create things. When you start to doubt if that thing is good enough, or if you're actually fit to push that kind of or to manage that kind of audience per se. So do you deal with stuff like this? And if you do, how do you work around it?
Okay, I deal with it a lot. What I deal with a lot is I second guess myself. I sometimes doubt the dopeness, would I say. I doubt how good my work is. Like, so I create a piece of content or piece of work, and in my head I'm like, oh God, how am I, like, what is this? And I'm not. And one thing I've learned, that's one of my biggest problems, especially with Instagram. Even with clients, I face the same problem, and I'm like, okay, how do I, and then I put it out, or I seek outside opinion, and they're like, just put it out, just send it to them, and the feedback is like, oh my God, this is actually one of the best. So I actually, because I tend to I've seen my work so many times, and I believe that when sometimes you've grown in your head, but it has not translated to your actual work. So what you've learned from your research and consuming other people's, I don't even consume much of other people's content anymore. Like, I try as much as possible so I stay original.
Yeah, it's not that healthy. So.
Yeah, and then you start comparing yourself. But what I've learned is that you just have to do your best and put it out there, because I suffer with that self-doubt. So especially with Instagram, where they expect you to show up every day. Not me. So I want to put a post out on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, and the post is already set up, and I've written my captions and everything, and I'm walking around the house, and I'm like, I said to my, oh, I want to post this, and she's like, what's the problem? I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if they're going to receive this well. And I post it, and it does so well. Like, I get such a good reception, and I'm like, what was I scared about? The comments, everything, people are actually connecting with it. So I think one of the major problems I face, or most creatives face, is they look down on their work. They don't see because I believe from the point which they started that work to the point which is being shipped out, they've probably grown, or they've gained more knowledge, which makes what they've done seem like it's not good enough. But really, just put it out, just put it down. Sometimes, if now what I've learned is, especially with YouTube, so I've edited a video, 5-minute video, 6-minute video, and then I've exported it. I want to watch it one last time before I put it out, and then I see a mistake. Someone like me would actually go back. Now I don't even check it.
I just
watch it. I see a mistake, I make note of it, and I upload it. Next time I fix that mistake, because if you go back and fix that mistake, I will still see another mistake. So it just makes small increments, and keep going. Just keep going. That's it.
Wow, that's amazing. This has actually been a really amazing session. So if people would love to find you and the works you do, they want to know about you, Oscar, where should they go to?
If you wanted to know more about me, you can find me on Instagram at Directed by Oscar, or you can find me on YouTube, Oscar Elochim, Elochim. That's my YouTube channel, where I post more of tutorials. But you can find me on Instagram as well, where I post also.
All right, that's awesome. So thank you so much for doing this. It was a great pleasure having you.
Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.